Hello, fellow bibliophiles, and welcome back to Blatantly Bookish. I'm Marissa, and today I wanted to just have a cozy little chatty video with you about some of the things I've been enjoying lately, bookish and otherwise. If you cannot tell from my voice, I am rather ill today. I've been sick for about the past week, and I've been wanting to film a lot of different things for you, but my voice has just not been up to it. I actually had to take a day of work off last week because I sounded like a high-pitched little squeak and really couldn't converse with anyone, which would not have been good at work. My voice is still rather froggy, as you can probably hear, but I wanted to just do something really low-key with you before spending the rest of the day reading, relaxing, having some nice tea and soup and all of those good things to make me hopefully feel better very soon. So, like I said, I have been loving tea lately, obviously, as one does when they are sick. I've been having mostly chamomile with a lot of lemon juice and honey. This is my favorite tea mug right now. I absolutely love the patterns on it. They're actually raised into the ceramic, so there's this wonderful textural calm that comes from holding this cup and running your fingers along the patterns. It's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. Hopefully that helps my throat enough to keep going through the rest of this video, but we'll see how long I can actually talk for. Bookish-wise, I have been absolutely loving Victober. I'm having a very hard time transitioning into nonfiction November, but you'll see my transition is not so complete. I'm reading some nonfiction that is quite related to the Victorian era, but I'm also continuing to read Little Dorrit. I am loving this book. Dickens always seems so daunting to me, and his work is rather dense. I have to read it much slower than I read some other things, but it is so worth it. I love Dickens. I am falling in love with him as an author. I'm only about a quarter of the way through Little Dorrit, but there are just so many interesting themes to explore. I love all of the characters. I love how the debtor's prison where it takes place, Marshalsea, is sort of a microcosm of society. It's its own separate sphere, and it's really interesting to see Little Dorrit move between the sphere of the Marshalsea prison and the outer world of Victorian London. She has such a fascinating relationship with her father because of this. Her father has a very high position in society within the prison. Within the prison, he is seen as a gentleman. He has respect and authority, and people look to him for advice and treat him with just such a differential respect. Outside of the prison, however, people don't see him that way. People see him as an inmate of Marshalsea prison, and that in and of itself does not garner much respect. So Little Dorrit grows up having this understanding that her father within the prison walls is respected, and she has such pride for him. She is so proud of her father and that position that he attains within society in the prison as the father of Marshalsea. But she also understands how people outside of the prison view her father and how they see him in a very different light. And so she isn't ashamed of her father exactly, but she doesn't really like to discuss him with people outside the prison. So it's really fascinating. And just imagining her growing up in this prison and coming to the realization one day that not everyone lives life this way. Not everyone gets locked up at night. Not everyone has a turnkey, someone like a guard who locks the doors that they are so close with. And it's just a fascinating, dynamic, fascinating book, and I really look forward to seeing how all of the different plot threads of Charles Dickens's work come together in this book. So I am absolutely loving Little Dorrit right now, and I don't want to put Victorian literature down even for a second, but I am also enjoying some Victorian nonfiction. This morning I started the book Elegant Etiquette in the 19th Century. The first chapter of this book is all about rank and class. And so it very clearly delineates class in Victorian society and discusses the peerage and the gentry and the differences between them, and it's actually quite easy to follow. I was so glad that it wasn't so difficult to follow. There are some nuanced details that it mentions that I will definitely not remember unless I took a pen and pencil and started taking notes on it. But for a broad overview, it is absolutely great. And for the nuanced details too, I just will not remember them over time. So yes, I'd like to have a quick PSA for Ricolas right now, which I absolutely have been loving and are keeping me going the past week. So I'm back. I finished my cough drop. I decided to pause while I slowly sucked on it because I did not think that you would enjoy listening to me talk with a mouthful of cough drop. But yes, back to other things I'm enjoying, bookish things and otherwise. I really want to start this book, How to Be a Victorian by Ruth Goodman. I will probably do that later today. I saw on Instagram that somebody else is reading it as well, and I should have commented on their post, but I didn't. I just scrolled by it this morning over my morning coffee. I should go back and find them and say that I'm reading it too, though. It would be really cool if we could discuss it and read it together. Some of the people I follow on Instagram have booktube channels that I also follow, and some don't, so we'll have to figure out which one that is. I don't know everyone's Instagram handles off the top of my head, so sometimes I'll just read it and not even realize who it is. Let's see, what else did I want to chat with you guys about? Oh, so this past week when I was home sick from work, I was going to catch up on some booktube, and I decided to watch Lucy the Reader's Halloween video, which was absolutely phenomenal, by the way. But she mentioned a booktuber, no, not a booktuber, YouTuber that she really likes, and that was Bernadette Banner. And I ended up going down a complete YouTube rabbit hole, as one does. So I watched Bernadette Banner's channel, and it is amazing. She is not a booktuber, like I said. She doesn't talk about books exactly, but she's really interested in history, and she actually sews her own historical clothing, which is amazing. So I ended up watching some of her videos, not all of them. She has so many of them and they all seem so interesting. But she got to meet Mrs. Crocombe, which I didn't even know what Mrs. Crocombe was. But apparently there's this entire series on YouTube from the English Heritage all about Victorian society at Audley House, which is a place you can actually go visit. And they have historical actors there playing historical people. And there's this one person who plays Mrs. Crocombe, which is a Victorian cook at Audley House in the 1880s. And so I just binge watched a ton of Mrs. Crocombe, and it was fantastic. I will link both Bernadette's channel down below and the Victorian Way down below as well, because that's the name of the series with Mrs. Crocombe in it, because it is utterly fantastic. And if you are still stuck on the Victorian era, as I am, I'm not ready to give that up yet, I think you'll really, really enjoy those videos if you haven't heard of them already. I feel like maybe I'm the last person to have heard of these, and everyone else already knows about it. So if that's the case, I apologize, and now you know I love them too. So that's about all that's going on with me. I'm also listening to Jane Eyre on audiobook on the way to and from work, but since I took a day off last week, I'm not so far along in that, but I'll continue to listen to that through the month of November until I finish, and then I'm sure I will pick up something nonfiction related instead for my audiobook commute. That's about all that's going on with me, and I think that's pretty much what my voice can take right now. How are you guys doing? I hope you're feeling better than me. What have you been reading? What have you been enjoying? Are you transitioning well from Victober into nonfiction November, or are you, like me, still stuck on Victorian literature and the concept of Victorian society and still eager to read all of the Victorianism that is out there? I look forward to hearing from you in the comments down below and seeing you in another video soon. Bye!